So welcome to decision analysis. This is dropping a segment. So Party Hardy is trying to decide whether or not to continue with its decorations segment. That's this one here. Direct fixed costs are associated with the given big business segment. Those are the direct fixed costs. Allocated common fixed costs, on the other hand, are distributed from the central office, which manages overall marketing and administrative expenses or administration and cannot be eliminated. So A, assuming all direct fixed costs may be eliminated if the decoration segment is closed, what change will occur to the profit in this case? So let's focus on the decoration segment. So let's see what this would look like after. So we're right now at minus 50,000, but if we stop business here, well, that means the sales, and of course the variable costs will go down to zero, which means the contribution margin is also zero. Now, as they say, the direct fixed costs are associated and can be completely saved in this scenario, so that goes down to zero. This leaves us with an operating income of $30,000. So that, if you recall, we're at minus 50,000, now we're down to minus 30,000. So the effect of closing the decoration segment would be an increase in profits of 20,000. Now let's try this one. Assume that 40% of the direct fixed cost cannot be eliminated if the decoration segment is closed, but the rest can. What change will occur to the profit in this case? Well, again, let's focus on the decorations. And here, again, the sales, the variable cost, and therefore the contribution margin goes down to zero. But now we're going to be stuck with 40% of the direct fixed cost. So 40% of the 60,000, that's going to be the 24,000, yielding us an operating income of minus 54. Again, if you recall, we were at minus 50. So that means the effect of closing the decoration segment would be a decrease in profits of 4,000. Now assume that the direct fixed cost can be eliminated if the decoration segment is closed. However, the rest of the business segments will lose 20% of their sales volume. What change will now occur in this case? Okay, so remember the present operating income. We're going to keep that in mind. The 15 plus the 10, those are just the numbers down here. So we have a total of 10,000 operating income. So I'm putting that on the top now. Okay, we're going to focus. We have here in the decorations part the same change, so we're at minus 30 instead of the minus 50, and I've just grayed out these the sales variable cost and contribution margins, because the fixed cost, the direct fixed cost, and the allocated fixed cost, common fixed cost, will not change for any of the segments now. But now we're going to look at 20% loss in the sales variable cost and therefore contribution margin for the supplies, the costumes, and the events sections or segments. So here, that's 20% less on the supplies. That gives us now an operating income of 3,000. Now the costumes, the 190 and 130 become 152 and 104, so they're looking at a contribution margin of 48 and an operating income of 2,000. Now the same with events, 76, 20, 56, and we'll end up with 21,000. So in this case, the total operating income is the 3,000 minus the 2,000 minus 30,000 plus 21, so we're at minus 8,000. So the change in operating income, recall we were at 10,000, so it's minus 8 minus 10, so that's a negative 18,000. So it's an $18,000 loss in operating income if we close the decoration segment. Now, this process can be done more quickly. You've noticed that sales, variable costs, and contribution margins are the only things that change, and they change always linearly in the same proportions. So we can look at the loss of the contribution margin directly and compare that to the gain in saving fixed costs. So let's do that. We have, first of all, the direct fixed costs that we'll save for the decoration, so that's the 60,000. And then we look at the lost contribution margins. Well, first of all, we have the complete contribution margin for the decoration segment. That's the 40,000 you see here. And then we have the 20% of the contribution margin for the other segments. That would be here the 60,000, 60,000, and 70,000. So we take 20% of that and we get $38,000. So here I'm just recalling that this is a gain and these two are losses. So the change in profit is simply the gains minus the losses. So that's the 60,000 minus the 40 and the 38. That gives us a result of minus 18,000, which is the overall loss in profit due to closing the decorating segment. Just want to point out as well that we could also have solved the other problems. The first one is, for example, when we just had the closing the decoration segment, where we said, okay, well, we're going to gain 60,000. Well, and then we lose the 40,000. So it would be 60,000 minus 40,000. That was a 20,000 answer to that segment, to that first question. And we could have done the same thing with the second. We would have again lost the 40,000, but then we would have had 60% of the direct fixed costs that were saved. So we would have calculated 60% of that, and that would have given us the same answer. So this is a short form or a short method where you're just looking at the contribution margin effects and then the changes in the fixed cost effects, which are the gains. Now we have our last questions. So disregard what we've done so far. Assuming Party Hardy invests another $5,000 extra in marketing for any one business segment, and the result is an increase in sales in that segment of 10%, which segment should that company choose? And then as a follow-up, what would the increase or decrease in profits be for Party Hardy if it invests the $5,000 in marketing for the segment? Well, how do we do that? Well, first of all, we're looking focused again on the contribution margin, as we mentioned before. And so we can just, we can disregard the changes because the sales and the variable costs will change by the 10% in whichever case we choose. But as we can see, where is our main, where do we get our biggest contribution margin? It's clearly from the events. So the events is where we're going to focus and put our investment on. So now let's calculate what the gain would be. The gain is $7,000. It's 10% of the 70,000. So we now compare that to the marketing costs. That's a 5,000. So in net, we have a $2,000 increase, and that's our answer. So that's it. Hopefully that helped, and thanks for your attention.